Well, hello and welcome to another episode of More Perfect Marketing. So today we're going to be having a chat with a world traveler, a scuba diver, I understand, and somebody who may or may not be able to challenge me as a expert gourmet in the kitchen and all around foodie. We'll have that conversation some other time though, because today I want to talk with our guest about how should I phrase this? Truth in advertising. And there's a double meaning here because if you're a business owner and you spend any time online, you are likely confronted with marketers like us trying to pitch our services, telling you how we can get you amazing results, whatever that might be. It might be, X number of leads in a month, or it might be, six figures, at an online event, or who knows what we're offering you. But we offer you a lot. The fact is, however, that there's a lot that goes into actually being able to deliver that. And most marketers are not going to tell you that on the front end, right? They want to get you into their world and then spring it on you. Well, today's guest, Ashleigh Chanel, is going to share the truth behind that advertising, and more as we dive into this. So, Ashleigh, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited, and yes, the truth about marketing and advertising, there's some major things that people leave out, and it does everyone a disservice when they come into the online space or just entrepreneurial world, and kind of makes them feel less than, I would think, and makes them wonder, well, what the heck am I not doing? And sometimes it's not the case of you not doing something. It's just that somebody actually has something else.
Yeah. I'm going to hasten to add, just because you mentioned online, that what we're going to talk about is specific to, online examples, but this happens everywhere, right? This happens with the radio advertising salesperson who solicits a local business, promising them the world, and ultimately you don't get delivered the world that they're promising. Same thing with the local newspaper or magazine rep, or anything else that you might be, somebody might be soliciting you regarding marketing. Marketers have a little bit of, well, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a bait and switch necessarily, but we have a rhythm that we follow. And I'm not pointing at the two of us, because I think we are not representative of the people we're complaining about. But we have a reputation for painting a really rosy picture. And some marketers are actually good at delivering on that. Most are not.
Right.
One who is thankfully one I'm speaking to today. So why don't we talk a little bit for a moment about the basis for why I wanted to talk about this? Because you shared a story with me just before we hit record, which I think got me very excited about this subject. And I said, let's talk about that today. Mm-hmm. So you can share the specific story. You can sort of share the story in abstract, but it would be helpful just for context, I think.
Right. So earlier in 2022, I was able to help my client get $300,000 in 1 month from her launch, by spending only $5,000 in ads. And I pride myself on high return on ad spend for all of my clients, but even I was very surprised and very excited by that. And I share that. I'm very excited about that. People have congratulated me on the success of my client. But the thing about it is I don't discount what we did, what me and my team did, because we worked very hard. We made sure that she had the right ads in place and the right ads funnel in place. But I also don't take on clients that I know that I cannot help. So I make sure that one of the things that she had in place was she had an audience. You can't get to $300,000 in a month without having an audience at all, right? And though we were able to tap into her audience, a lot of it came from new leads that we were able to get her. But we were able to use a lookalike audience, right? We were able to use people who had, like, when we did video views ads, for example, we were able to retarget those people she knew what her messaging was. That's something else that was very important. She had a lead magnet that people actually wanted, okay, and converted. And she had her entire funnel system set up. She had her email set up. She knew what her clients were struggling with, when they were struggling with it. And she also had, this is one of the assets that I think was very, very important, was that she had short videos that only spoke about one thing. They were short, they were to the point, they introduced her, and she had a call to action in them. So I was able to arrange her videos in an order that made sense to the customer buyer journey. So that's the thing, I think, that is the difference between us and a lot of other people who are online marketers. We have experience in marketing. It's not just, oh, I'm doing this because it worked for me. It's, I've worked the gamut from billion-dollar companies to solopreneurs. I understand different industries. I've worked with, the German stock exchange, the Singapore stock exchange, with banks. I've worked with e-commerce and, online marketing with coaches and consultants and high ticket and lower ticket and SLO funnels. So I understand marketing at the basis, but I understand marketing in different arenas. And I think that's really what messes with a lot of entrepreneurs, is that they're getting advice that's just singular, right? That just is only based on one thing. And no one's telling them that, well, yes, I had a $70,000 month, but I only, locked in, or I only, what is it, like the revenue versus the profit, right?
Sure. So your net or your margin was super low.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
And so, like, I know people talk about it, it's not about the money you make or the money you keep, but I do think it's about both of them, to be honest. Like, now you know that you can make $70,000. Now let's reel it in and figure out how to make sure that the profit is there. But I just think, generally speaking, there's no transparency in marketing. There's no transparency. And I think that people really appreciate when you tell them, okay, look, yes, $100,000 is possible, but we need a lead magnet. And what else did we do? We did marketing beforehand. We ran ads before that month. So we were able to gather more audience, a new audience, right? And not just tap into her current audience because they've seen her stuff. So let's tap into people who make sense for her, so that she can get the sales as well.
There's a ton of things there I want to follow up on. The first question I had as you were sort of mapping this out was, I don't know if you know these off the top of your head, you may have to go back and consult some of your data, but who converted and at what rate? So you had this existing audience, right? And if she had a large following of people who were following her, but not yet buyers or not yet, significant buyers, well, and they were the buyers, right? That's a big difference between cold audience that you found through the lookalike mechanism of finding people similar to them, right? So I don't know if you know that off the top of your head.
I don't have that information, but I know from even my students, all we did was cold traffic. And even for my client that we got $300,000 for, all of it was cold.
Okay.
I don't think I tapped into her current audience in that way, like running ads to them. Right. I did cold audience and lookalike audience, which are also cold. But for my student, all of it was cold, and all of them, like, not all of them converted, but she had a 40% conversion rate on her landing page, but it wasn't like that before. It was 18%. And then it became 40 because we worked on that, right? So they're like, at every single part of the funnel, you have to tweak your ads, your creative, your captions, your social media, maybe your emails. Cause like, we learned that when they show up, she'll convert at, I think, 40%, but there was a gap between people who showed up to her webinar and people who signed up. So now we know we need to send more follow-up emails, right? But I don't think anybody ever talks about the breakdown of how this actually works.
Yeah. So you mentioned several elements in there. You mentioned the lead magnet. You mentioned the fact that you had these videos, which were very wise, by the way, this advice that you gave. So I want to reiterate it. One topic only, right? So it was super focused around something and then a call to action. And that you put them in the right order after, I assume, learning, through watching and analyzing what was happening.
There were 25 of them.
Yeah,
there were 25 videos, and they were all 3 minutes or under. None of them were a minute or under, but the thing about it is, when you're talking to your audience, they'll watch. Mm-hmm. So I always say the video needs to be as long as it needs to be to get the point across. And the people who matter are going to watch the video. And sometimes they've seen enough of you and they're like, okay, I see this video, now it's time to act, because like she hit the point or he hit the point, right? Mm-hmm. But yes, the one topic, because I am long-winded, okay? I like to talk about a whole bunch of stuff at the same time. But in order to get to the root of, or the depths, I'm gonna say that, to get to the depths of your audience and their emotions, it's one thing at a time.
Totally. And wise advice. You also slipped in a little bit of marketing nomenclature that I wanted to just reveal to people, because they probably heard you say SLO or slow. Mm-hmm. You want to define what that is?
Sure. It's a type of and what I call a funnel is just a sales system. It's how you get people from point A to point B, or point high to point BY by, is what I like to say. But it's a way to get people into your, or it's a type of funnel that when you're running ads, it's called self-liquidating. So it's a self-liquidating offer. And so say it's something like $25, $27, $47, you're running ads to it. It basically pays for your ads. So you're getting data, you're making money, but it's also a way to put money back into your ads where you're not spending all the money that you have and not getting a return.
So, for a business owner who's confronted with these types of, solicitations that I was referring to earlier, understanding that there's actually a system that needs to exist behind whatever that marketing is critical. And often there isn't a system behind the marketing that is as comprehensive as what we've been talking about.
Rarely.
Yeah. So there's a couple of different directions I want to go here, but the first thing I'm sort of curious about is how you figured this out for yourself. I mean, you came from a different world where you were, in the corporate space. You were an employee. You started this business just like everybody else starts a business, trying to figure stuff out for yourself. Eventually, you learned a lot of really critical and important stuff, right? And you're helping people, guiding them through it. How did you get started with all this?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so when I started my business, I really was like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna kill it, because I'm intelligent, I have the degrees, I have the experience, and I can do this for myself. I thought I was gonna go out there within 6 months, be making like, multi-six figures, right? That was not the case. That did not happen at all. And what I learned, about funnels, I learned about online marketing, but I think what happened was, because initially when I got into the online marketing space, I thought I had to start over, because I didn't think that my degrees and my experience mattered, because everybody else out here seemed to be making multiple six figures in their launches without having a degree, without actually knowing marketing. And I was like, okay, so this stuff doesn't matter. But then I realized that it does set me apart, because I know the fundamentals of marketing, and I was getting so frustrated. I was really, I think viscerally getting angry that everybody was selling people a pipe dream. And it was really, really irritating me, because I was like, well, yes, you can do this, but there's this, and this. And no one was teaching the marketing. Everybody was just teaching, okay, get on social media, but no one was talking, except for Ryan Dice, but he was really talking more to marketers, right? Mm-hmm. And people who I guess really wanted to learn more about marketing. But I was just like, no one is out here teaching this. And it was just really frustrating. So when I learned that it was more about emotion and it was more about what fundamentals you had in place. And because when I was working with my clients, like I started out with web design and everybody they're like, okay, well now it's not making any money. And I'm like, well, it's not supposed to, right? And you don't have it set up to make money. You have a website that is designed beautifully. You don't have a funnel page that's taking them through the customer buyer journey. And though your buyer persona and your customer buyer journey are not the sexy parts of marketing, they are the most important, because that sets the tone for who you get in and if they're going to buy from you. And people talk about your customer avatar and your buyer persona all the time, but they don't tell you, okay, now what can you do with it? What do you do with it? What conversations do you have? And then nobody actually even talks about conversations, because selling really is about conversation. It's really connecting with your audience. And there's just so many things that have been left out, and it has gotten on my nerves. And I'm just seeing people so sad and so defeated. And it's because people are out here being irresponsible with marketing, in my opinion. And they're not telling them, okay, you need this, but you also need this. Okay, well, you do this, but they're not telling them the why behind it. And it was just really frustrating me. So I had to do some things to combat that. But every time I go out there, I make sure to let people know all of the things that they need. And whenever I talk about the successes that I've had with my clients, I tell them what they have in place so that they can be prepared for the future.
Yeah, you're speaking my language, and you're preaching what we preach. We have a saying in my business that there's a problem with the way that marketing or advertising is bought and sold, right? That the marketing industry and the way that businesses buy this stuff is all very tactically driven, which is what you've just been talking about, right? I need a website. I need to be on social media. I need to run ads from Facebook, or, today it's TikTok, and who knows what it'll be in a few more years. And that there's a much broader issue at play, which is, for most businesses, I need to generate revenue. I need to do it predictably. I need to do it consistently. How do I do that? So this is the conversation that marketers should be having with their clients. And very few are. Thankfully, you're one of the few who do.
Yes, thank you for that. And it is the tactics, I think. It really is. And it's the hacks, right? It's like, I don't do hacks. We do longevity over here, okay? Because the consistency, because when it comes to business, for a service-based business, I always tell people, forget that logo, forget that website initially. You need to talk to people and let people know what you do. And because I don't know if I had a client, I had my website before I had my first client. And I don't think most service-based entrepreneurs have a website before they have their first client. I think some of them do because they spent a year or a year and a half on their logo and their website. But I will say, for e-commerce businesses, website branding, or like visual branding, extremely important. But I would not say the same thing for a service-based entrepreneur.
So I want to shift to something else that you do in your business that is somewhat rare. In fact, I've never seen what is specifically what I'm about to reference on your website. You have a page that's called Get Started. You know what I'm referring to, and hopefully you know why I'm referring to this particular page, because you set expectations very clearly on this particular page of your site in a way that I do not see service providers or marketers in general do it. And I think this is totally relevant to what we've been talking about in terms of what a business sees in advance of agreeing to work with, a marketer. You want to talk about that page and what's on it and why it exists?
Okay, I am looking at it because I know there's two things that I set up. One of them was about let me see, the Get Started.
So the Get Started page sort of starts off with a little bit about.
Okay, yes. Okay, yes. The reason why I have this page was because I was tired of working with people that did not align with me. And I'm realizing every day, the more I talk about my values, the more I talk about my expectations of my clients, the better people I get into my atmosphere. Because like I said, my client had a budget. She knew marketing costs money, right? So either you invest time or you invest money. Sometimes you have to do both. But they have to have goals, and and the reason why I say they have to have passion is because I can sell passion. If you're not excited about what you do, I can't be excited about it. And then I'll be bored. And then I don't want to sell something I'm bored doing, right? So I want you to be passionate because your passion comes out in your story. I can use that in your messaging. I can use your tone and your excitement and get people to relate to that. But just selling something that's not really that exciting or you're not excited about is really, really difficult. But yeah, I put this in here because people want such grand goals, right? They want the $300,000 months, but they don't have the system in place that garners $300,000. So that is why I have all of those in place. And then even when people sign up with me or they book a call, because I still do free 30-minute calls to determine, but typically by the time they get on the phone with me, they're already ready to sign up. Mm-hmm. And that is because I put myself out there and I tell them what it is that I'm about and what they can expect. And then also, I have my values, like on the thank you page, I have my values and what they need, I would like for them to have in place. So one of my values is excitement. And I say, if I'm not excited, then we don't work together. If you're not excited, then we won't work together. But if we are both excited, we are almost there.
So, I mean, this is valuable not just for a potential client to understand, but also for any service provider to be able to model what you're doing. Because, so I'm just going to read through a couple of the things on this page, right? So you have these different headlines and a sort of an explanation of what you mean by that. But somebody who's going to work with you needs to have goals. They need to have passion in what they're working on. Need to have a budget, which you just talked about, an audience, right? You made it very clear that if there is either no established audience, right, there's a lot more work. You got to then, get
exactly.
start
and
from the beginning.
Do that. We can help you grab get an audience, but that's going to be maybe a month or two of work that we need to do before we can get to that result.
Now, here's some of the things that I really appreciate about what you talk about, because I think that this is sort of the expectations that most businesses don't, think about when they're engaging a marketer, right? They'll typically say, okay, here's a pile of money, go do something and make me money, right? Mm-hmm. What you're doing is that you're actually working with people, mm-hmm. right? So you want them to have follow through. You want them to be respectful. I love that. Not have excuses for not doing stuff, and make a commitment to the time that's necessary to, invest in this process. I love the fact that you speak about these things, because it demonstrates how realistic you are mm-hmm. about what needs to happen in order to deliver for your clients.
Thank you. I completely forgot about that page, to be honest. And it was so necessary. And then I realized, like, I did end up putting a lot of that into video for potential clients, because it was just like, nobody was realistic. But I also think, it's because nobody is realistic. Like, none of the marketers are realistic. Nobody's telling you what you need to have in place. And then you go to people thinking, okay, yes, because I went from website design to social media, and because people wanted their social media to make them money, I was like, well, you don't have a funnel. You're not sending them anywhere. What do you mean you want your social media to make you money? And so that's when I got into funnel building, and then also Facebook ads. And I was like, I just really wanted people to be able to make the money that they wanted to make, but we needed to have the funnels and things in place. But yes, respect is extremely important to me. We cannot work together if I feel like you are not respectful of just people or my time, your time. And also the time thing, I say, look, you will not have to do anything when it comes to your ads for the most part. But if I do ask you for a video, I'm going to need you to record a video for me. I will edit it for you. That is part of what I do in our ad service, which a lot of people don't do. But I was like, I will edit it for you. Just get me the video. And if they are not willing to do what it takes, then to me, they are not committed to their business. And that's very important, because how can I be more committed to something that you built than you are?
So before we wrap up, I want to just take a couple minutes to talk about the types of businesses that you now focus on working with, because you have a range of experience working with businesses of all sizes and different places. But to the best of my knowledge, at least the first time we spoke, you have a sort of a focus in a certain area. You want to talk about that?
Yes. So now I am focused on working with high ticket consultants and coaches and service providers, um, just to make sure that you can get the leads and the sales that you want with ease, because we know what you do works, right? So now let's just get more people in so that you don't have to work so hard to get leads and or sales. But I work with, with Facebook ads, generally speaking, I work with those who are making $300,000 or more, because those are the ones who have the budget for Facebook ads, or to pay my agency for
Yeah.
Facebook ads.
So,
But
and
yes.
I want to clarify what you mean by service providers, because this is a very sort of general catch-all term that I think that, folks in our space use. Are you talking about expert service providers like professional services folks, or are you talking about something else in terms of a service provider?
So
So,
service provider to me is someone who is an expert in their industry, and who offers services based off of what they are knowledgeable on.
so it could be legal services or financial planning services, or
It could
those sorts of
be. And
things.
I do a range of things, because the thing, like, I don't necessarily niche in that
Mhm.
aspect. I niche as far as mindset,
Yep.
really. And it doesn't matter if I'm working with a coach or not a coach, well, a service provider, someone who is, offering, getting your systems together,
Yep.
or somebody who is offering, insurance. Because the thing about it is, it's the service, and I can tap into emotions of people. And because I can do that, it doesn't matter what I'm selling. As long as there's passion behind it, and as long as there's a story that I can tell, I can sell it.
And that was the point that I wanted to make, is that service providers is often a term that somebody who is a financial advisor may not self-identify with, but in
Mm.
fact, if they are open to positioning themselves the way that you're talking about, well, there's nobody else in their space that's really competing with them doing this sort of thing in their market, right? and,
It's
and
so
therefore
true.
there's huge amounts of opportunity.
Yes, there, especially for those who are, I will call them, and no offense to everyone, but those are like the boring ones, like the accounting,
Yep.
or the ones like the financial ones, because it's like,
By the way, you just lost yourself some business there, but yeah, they're
sorry
they're
guys.
not they're the less sexy topics. Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. See, marketing, the unsexy
Yep.
topics. But those, because, like, say, I'm working with the CFO, right? And she does CFO services for business owners. And it's not necessarily a sexy topic, but the thing about it is, she's working with people who are seeing all of the money come in, but they're not keeping a lot of the money. So she needs to do some CFO services, some tax planning, some other things, but we can tap into the emotions of the business owners and the CEOs, and talk about, well, this is what's happening. This is how it's affecting you. This is how it's affecting how you see yourself as a business owner. And this is how it's affecting how you like your lifestyle. Like, you set this up to have this certain type of lifestyle. So it's just having the conversations that your clients are already having.
Awesome. Well, Ashley, we are out of time, but I want to make sure that before you go, people know where to find you. And you don't just have, a regular website you want to send people off to. You have a page, and I love what you call this page. It's the fun stuff page,
Yes.
which we'll make sure to leave a link to, because remembering everything we're about to say here may not be as easy. But your business is Make Your Mark. And so it's Make Your Mark Consulting, right?
Yes.
Slash the dash fun dash stuff. And I'll have a link in the show notes for that. What will people find when they go there?
They will find a lot of things, because I learned that the outcome I offer, no matter what level you're at, is the same, which is growing your business with ease, getting leads and sales with ease. And so no matter where you are in your business stage, whether it's done for you services, whether you work directly with me, or there are courses or even VIP days where we set up your ads or your funnels and things like that, you will find all of that information there, because people are at different stages and need help with different things. And I just wanted to be the go-to for building, like growing your business with marketing and making it as easy as possible, even though marketing is very hard.
Though it doesn't have to be when you have the guidance of somebody like you. So
absolutely.
Ashleigh Chanel, thanks so much for hanging out with me and having this chat. I look forward to continuing our conversation in the future, and look forward to finding an excuse to have you back again.
Yes, thanks for having me. I love coming. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Folks, this has been another episode of More Perfect Marketing. Look forward to seeing you back here again real soon. Take care.